Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Tuesday. I hope the day is going well, wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. Thanks for joining me. As always, we are, of course, in the final week now of the Premier League season. Arsenal bringing the curtain down on the campaign at the weekend at Southampton. Still plenty to talk about, though. We're going to talk about Thomas Partey in today's show and give my latest information on him and his potential contract renewal at Arsenal. We'll talk about Max Dowman. More injury news. Jurrien Timber, of course. Sam Dean and the Telegraph reporting yesterday exclusively that he is to undergo some ankle surgery, which is why obviously he's sat out the last couple of weeks. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about look at Ricardo Calafiori. He's been talking about his first season at Arsenal and ruling out any return to Italy, saying he's very happy in England. So we'll talk about that. Got some comments and questions from you guys to all get stuck into as well. Just to flag up, if you are a Patreon member, an Inside Arsenal Patreon member, the Arsenal Press Pass show, myself, Simon Collins, and Sam Dean of the Telegraph, of course, broke that exclusive story about Jurrien Timber. That, at the moment, is scheduled to be being recorded tomorrow and will go out tomorrow sort of afternoon at some point. And if you want to get questions in for the Arsenal Press Pass show, then go into the Discord, which Patreon members will all get access to. And there is a channel there called Arsenal Press Pass Questions. Drop your questions in there, and I'll pull some of them together and get them included in the show. And if you haven't joined the Arsenal Inside Arsenal Patreon membership yet, then the link is down below in the description if you're watching on YouTube or in your podcast as well. And that will take you to Patreon where you can sign up. And I do urge, if you do sign up to become a paid Patreon member, do it direct through Patreon. Don't do it through Apple because they charge extra and take money for themselves. I don't understand why. So always do it. If you're signing up, do it direct through patreon.com rather than doing it through iOS or anything like that. Right, let's get stuck into things for today, shall we? And we'll start with Thomas Partey and his future. Obviously, Thomas Partey out of contract at the end of the season. We know that. And as of yet, he hasn't signed a new deal. He was at the game. He was obviously started the game against Newcastle at the weekend. I imagine he'll probably start the game against Southampton, but all the while he's still yet to have a new deal at Arsenal, and his future is very much up in the air. So my latest information, I got asked about this on, I think it was Discord. Again, someone asked about it, and I told them yesterday that I was trying to find out. So my latest information on the Thomas Partey situation is that his agent is in London. He flew in. He was a guest at the game at the weekend, and that talks now between the club and Thomas Partey's agent are intensifying. Both are very, very keen to get a quick resolution to this, so they know one way or the other what is happening. Obviously, as I spoke about before, where the two sides are, they're coming from a little bit of different sort of side of things. You've got the club side who are looking at a player who's now into his 30s with a not great injury record, despite having a very good record this season. And so they will not want to be paying loads and will be trying to bring the wages down that he's on at the moment. But Thomas Partey, this is probably his last big contract and wouldn't want to be taking a wage reduction. So they're coming out from two different sides. So the talks are not easy to do. They're quite complicated. It's going to take a bit of compromise as well. But those talks are intensifying now. As I said, both sides really do want to get to a quick resolution with this. And at the moment, as far as I'm aware, the signs are looking like they're going to come to a successful conclusion. There will be a compromise and Thomas Partey will sign a new Arsenal contract. Now, it hasn't been done yet. There is no agreement yet. So I could not say that 100% at all. But so far, from my understanding of these talks that are happening right now, is that they do seem to be progressing and going in the right way. So the signs are good for Thomas Partey signing a new contract. But it's not been done yet. So it's impossible to predict if it actually will end up happening. So that's the latest on Thomas Partey and his future. Right, let's talk about Jurrien Timber. If you're watching YouTube, you can see Sam Dean's tweet yesterday. We'll be speaking to Sam about this on the Arsenal Press Pass show tomorrow. So Sam revealed that Timber is set to undergo an ankle procedure. He's been managing fitness issues in recent weeks, and the club's medical staff have decided he needs a procedure to address the problem. It remains unclear how long he will be ruled out for. So really great reporting from Sam yesterday. Obviously, we've not seen Timber much of late because of this. He has been playing through the pain. There's been games when he has played and then he's been out for the next one and then come back, and he's obviously hasn't. I don't think he's played since the Champions League exit, has he? Now this is apparently, from what I understand, a minor procedure, so it's not anything deemed to be, huge when it comes to the operation. And the hope is that he will be back for pre-season and will be ready for the start of next season. And that's why the decision has been taken now to get it done now, so that it can be sort of out of the way and it's not going to have any sort of impact on him next season. So fingers crossed that is the case. I think what this shows, again, Timber's been an absolute warrior this season. Unbelievable. I think he's played the fourth most minutes of any Arsenal player in the Premier League. And when you think he's coming into this season on the back of an ACL disrupted season last year, which basically ruled out his entire first season in England. There's no way that was the plan at the start of the season, was Timber to play that many minutes. But because of everything that's gone on with Ben White and Tomiyasu this season just not being available, Timber's just had to play himself, run himself into the ground, and has been playing through the pain recently. And it's very similar to kind of what happened to Ben White last season. Ben White ended up getting injured because he had to play so many minutes last season because of Jurrien Timber's injury. And now the things have been sort of flipped this time around, and it's Timber who's just picked up this sort of stress-related injury because of the sheer amount of minutes that he's had to play. And it's been absolutely brilliant. He's going to come into the equation for player of the season, absolutely no doubt about it, because he's been so consistent, so impressive. And just fingers crossed that this procedure that he has, it is just the minor one that we're being told, and he will be back for pre-season. Because the last thing you want, and I kind of mentioned this recently when I was talking about Declan Rice and that hamstring injury, you don't want players not being able to have any sort of summer break, especially after a season as demanding as this one has been, and it's sort of just difficult as this season has been. But if you're coming back from an operation, something like that, like Timber, he's going to be having to do rehab. He's still going to have to be going into London Colney an awful lot when everyone else isn't there and they're all on their holidays. And that's just not ideal, because it feels like you don't ever really have a break. So hopefully it's not going to be too bad for him. But yeah, we obviously do want him back for pre-season. Talking about pre-season, one man who's going to be involved in that is Max Dowman. I say one man, one boy who's going to be involved in that is Max Dowman. Dowman's already actually away with England for the under-17s summer tournament. I think they're playing today, actually. But he is going to be on the pre-season tour. By all accounts, John Cross at the Mirror reporting yesterday he's going to be officially promoted to the first team squad for next season as well, which is pretty remarkable. 15-year-old kid here, hasn't been able to play this season because of the regulations. Had those regulations not been in place, I'm absolutely sure we would have seen him at some point play already, despite the fact that he is still just 15. An incredibly talented player that Arsenal are so excited about. Also trying to show to him that there is a clear pathway there and he is in the first team plans, because at the moment, obviously, he can't sign that first professional contract yet for a while. And there are clubs from everywhere trying to get him to ditch Arsenal and go and sign elsewhere. So I think a big part of this as well is just showing that that's why he's been training with the first team all the time. He's basically been sort of behind the scenes. He's already been a key ingredient of the first team squad. It's just that he can't actually play in matches because of the regulations. But what this is going to do, again, it's a clear sign to him, to his family, to everyone else, like, you are very much in our plans for the first team. You don't need to look elsewhere to go and play your minutes and get your pathway, because you've got a very clear pathway here. So I think that's the action Arsenal are taking. I can't wait to see him in pre-season on the tour, just to see how he stands up, because they're going to be really physical games as well. You think Arsenal playing Tottenham, they're playing Newcastle. If he gets on the pitch in those sort of games, how's he going to handle it physically? Is he going to look out of place? Is he going to look like a 15-year-old kid? He doesn't on the training ground. I tell you, when you see him, he doesn't look 15 at all. But will he on a pitch in front of, when he's sort of surrounded by other first-team international players? We'll wait and see on that. But I'm really excited to see. I was really excited last summer to see Ethan really get a proper go in pre-season. I'm really excited to see what Max Dowman can bring to the table this summer. Right, just talking about Ricardo Calafiori now. He's been speaking in the mix zone after the game at the weekend to the Italian media, kind of about his time at Arsenal, about, would he go back to Italy, that sort of stuff, to which he said absolutely no, he wouldn't. Why would he do that? So this is what he had to say to the Italian media. He said, I'm very happy at Arsenal. For me personally, the first season was a great experience. Obviously, when you win trophies, it would always be better. Here, I measured myself against the most important and difficult league in the world. I saw that I can be here easily. This made me very happy, and I'm convinced of the choice I made. Regrets? None. Absolutely. I will always feel good in every position I play. I try and help the team. In my opinion, what was missing was just continuity this year. I will try to be more consistent next year. When I was good, I always played and I always made the difference. The goal is just to stay in shape all year. And that has to be the goal. for him next season is just to be fit, be available, because we've seen when he's on the pitch, we've seen when he is fit what he can offer, not just defensively but attacking wise as well. He's a really interesting player, I think, Calafiori. Even at the weekend when he came in, finally getting to see him playing that sort of left-sided centre-back role, but then he'd just be absolutely everywhere up and down the pitch. On the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, by the corner flag, and this is your centre-back. He's such an interesting player. What he adds to the attack as well as what he brings to the defence. But he just needs to stay fit. You look at the size of him, he's just an absolute physical specimen. But even there, you can see if you're watching on YouTube after the game, he's got his knee really, really heavily strapped. He got that really bad injury playing for when he twisted it, playing for Italy not so long ago. He's had a couple of them so far this season. Just needs another one. Relax this summer, chill out, come back in the pre-season and just stay fit. As he said, it's all about continuity and building on it, because we've seen real good signs from him, really exciting signs from him this season. But he's just got to stay fit next season. If he can do that, I think he's got an awful lot to offer to this squad moving forward. Right, moving on to your questions and comments now. Empire has got in touch on the Discord for Patreon members, and he asked thoughts on Paul Merson's comments yesterday on Sky Sports regarding Arteta, that he needs to be in the top 2 at Christmas or he might be gone. He later went on to say Saka might think about leaving to win something. What are your thoughts on this? I'm of the opinion that we do need to win something next year, but that's more to keep the players we have now happy. Saliba, blah, blah, blah. So feel like we have to win something to make his and other players' time worthwhile. Not for a minute do I think they would remove Arteta from his position at Christmas. No, they're not going to. Even if Merson was saying basically, if they're not in the top 2, he could be gone by Christmas. I just don't believe that at all. If they're 3rd or 4th, he's not going to be gone by Christmas. They will certainly wait till the end of the season. And maybe if they're 17th, if they're doing a Spurs or a Man United at Christmas, then he will be gone. I imagine he would be gone if they're 17th at Christmas, of course. But if they're still there or thereabouts competing for a Champions League, in the Champions League places and not far off the top of the table, they're not going to make a change in the build up to Christmas. Of course, that's not going to happen. But yeah, I mean, look, I think Merson, it wasn't quite an impassioned sort of speech, I thought, from Merson. I know he's a Chelsea fan, but he's an Arsenal boy. He's got Arsenal in his heart from his time playing here, and he wants them to be successful, no doubt about it. And that sort of came across when I was listening to him the other day. But there is pressure. Of course, there's going to be loads of pressure. Arteta will know it. He needs to deliver next season. He needs to deliver the trophy that we all want and we all crave, that he wants more than any of us. We all think that we want a trophy. Trust me, Mikel Arteta wants a trophy. And he's going to have to try and deliver it. And he's going to have to do it under lots and lots of pressure next season, because the spotlight is going to be on him. Whether you think that's fair or not, the spotlight is going to be on him because of how close Arsenal have come without getting over the line in recent years. And the more times you do that, the more pressure you're under to actually sort of get yourselves over the line. So yeah, those are my thoughts on it. I thought Merson was relatively fair with some of the stuff he was saying, but I think he went very much over the top when he said he'd be gone by Christmas if he's not in the top 2. Jelly Belly now has got in touch and he says, hi, Charles. Saliba couldn't finish the game versus Newcastle. Timber having surgery. Saka's struggling for match fitness, as is Odegaard. Rice run into the ground this season. Trossard, who we need to sell this summer, in my opinion, needs protecting. I want to basically see a fully rotated team for the Southampton game. Send 99% of the first 11 on holiday now. Give them an extra week's rest. They need it. Then they can come back sooner to fully prepare for next season. Don't risk anyone. Arsenal are thinking about selling Kivior, Trossard, Zinni. Do not play them. An injury kills our transfer plans. Interesting thoughts there, I thought. I think the team selection is going to be interesting at the weekend, who he's going to do. I don't think he's going to rest everyone. I don't think he's going to send everyone away a week early like you're calling for, Jelly Belly. I think we'll still see the likes of Odegaard, Rice, Saka playing. I think I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tierney get his sort of final run out, a left back. Players like that, I think it'll be Calafiori and Kivior in there. I know you say protect Kivior, but I think Kivior will play. I really do. I don't think Arteta will be going into it thinking about the transfer window and who we might sell. And so I can't play him. I just don't believe that. I want to see Ethan play. He's just not played enough recently. So I want to see him get a start as well. But yeah, maybe Zinni and Trossard. I think there's been a lot of talk about Trossard, hasn't there, online? Someone was mentioning it on in the Discord chat yesterday. It's like, why is everyone sort of presuming Trossard's gone? I think it's stemmed from his wife or his girlfriend posting some pictures afterwards of the game at the weekend, and sort of pictures from the lap of appreciation, and people sort of looked at the comments and what she was saying on them. and they were almost like goodbye messages. And so that sort of ramped up a lot of talk yesterday on social media that Trossard's going to go. I don't think we're at that case at that stage yet, but we'll see. I just don't see Arteta sort of putting that into his thinking when he comes to choosing his team selection. Rushna is talking about Arsenal's player of the season. Now, I'm going to wait for James Bench to get back from his honeymoon, which is very, very soon, actually. So next week, I imagine we'll be doing an Inside Arsenal Extra Time, and we will do it on the Arsenal player of the season. We like to do that on Inside Arsenal Extra Time, go over our sort of choices for player of the season. Rushna has got in touch here. He says Declan Rice, number 1, David Raya, number 2, and then Jurrien Timber / Bukayo Saka, number 3. No, Gabriel. Gabriel's my number 1, I think. I think Declan Rice has certainly played his way into contention with what he's done in the last few months, but he didn't start. The first half of the season with Declan Rice was quite a bit below his usual high standards. Jurrien Timber has been incredibly consistent. David Raya has to be up there as well. So yeah, interesting choice. Declan Rice wouldn't be my number 1, I have to say, despite his really impressive performances of late. But myself and James will sit down definitely for Inside Arsenal Time next week, and we'll debate our player of the season and give our choices in that. So keep your eyes peeled for that show. And we've got one from Teta now. Says, Charles, if Watkins was available for 35 million, would you go for him? And would it be in addition to another striker? Watkins and Sesko, perhaps. Unrealistic, but just want your view. Would I go for Watkins for 35 million? It depends what else we do, if you see what I mean. If Arsenal sign a striker and a winger, a top quality winger, say Arsenal sign Gyökeres and Nico Williams, would I then go for Watkins? I would say probably no. But if they don't sign a winger, if they only get a Gyökeres, then yes, someone like that. I mean, it depends. I'm not going to say no to Ollie Watkins. If Arsenal sign Gyökeres and Nico Williams, and then they get their goalkeeper sorted out, they get Zubimendi in, then yeah, I wouldn't say no if suddenly that he's there and they just take a decision and get him, because the more goal threat you have in your team, the better. But I don't really see it happening, if you see what I mean. And I also really want to see, I think if you've got a winger and you've got a striker, and you still have £35 million lying around, for me, I'd be spending that money on a creative central, sort of number 10, number 8 type figure that I just think Arsenal need to have in the squad next season, rather than an Ollie Watkins, if you see what I mean. But thank you very much for the question. Thank you for everyone, as usual, for getting involved. That's it from me today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it as always. I'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. And remember, if you're a Patreon member and Inside Arsenal, we'll also have the Arsenal Press Pass show tomorrow a little bit later on as well. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Until then, everyone, have a great day. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.